Welcome to First Dates and Soulmates, where we are tasked to ensure a plentiful, speedy collection. I am your co-host, Meg Casewalt.
And I'm Nikki McKnight.
And today we are celebrating my birthday. This is Meg's birthday episode. And a couple months ago, I threw it at you. And I said, tell you what, for my birthday, we are doing Morning Glory Milking Farm.
Yep.
Now, I went and looked back. We have been talking about doing Morning Glory Milking Farm for over a year.
Yep.
Since the first time Andrea Jones came on the pod as our guest.
Mm-hmm.
So it is beyond overdue. And I'm really excited to discuss this with you. I think it's a movie, or it's a book that you come for the controversial bull semen collection, and you stay for the fantasy. And the fantasy is not having sex with a Minotaur. The fantasy is actually a job that pays you a living wage.
That has great benefits.
That trains you with like several weeks of on-the-job training, that treats you with respect. That's the fantasy that we're talking about here.
That is the fantasy that we all are striving for in this capitalist hellscape. Yes, Morning Glory Milking Farm is the adage, the allegory of our lives in terms of what we aspire to be.
Now, I warned you as an operations person that this is a weirdly operations manual book. What?
Oh, yeah.
What did you know about Morning Glory Milking Farm going into this read?
The first time I heard about it, I think was probably in the last 2 years. It probably showed up in a forum. The fact that I hadn't really heard much about it or didn't know much about it is not so much that it's about bull semen. It's the fact that it's hetero-ish.
Yeah.
It's straight romance, which is not my jam. But it was kind of out in the zeitgeist. I was familiar with the title. I knew it involved fluids, and that was kind of it. When Drea came on the show, and I remember she brought it up because she had used it as a recommendation to someone who said, I'm interested in romance. What should I read? And Drea's first suggestion was Morning Glory Milking Farm, and there was commentary on whether or not that was a solid choice. I didn't know much about it, and then as another one of the running jokes on the show, you had mentioned that it's very operations professional coded, and that I would enjoy the processes involved therein, and that is all I knew. I now know more.
And so, now that I have forced you, using the leverage of the podcast, to read this book that never would have crossed your TBR otherwise, how are you feeling about it now?
I'm always game to read anything that people ask me to.
Yeah.
I will do this. So I read this book and then I read the second one.
Oh, you did?
I did. I read the second one, which involved the Mothman.
The Mothman, yeah.
Because I wanted to widen my field of reference for how this world is talked about. And then I was about to read the third one, which is the werewolf one. And I just went, no, there's pregnancy stuff happening. I don't want to read this one.
Yeah.
I will say I admire the processes and the professionalism of the people at Morning Glory Milking Farm. I enjoy a man in a well-cut suit, or I guess...
or a Minotaur.
A Minotaur in a well-cut suit with a fancy watch. This was a book. I read it.
This was a book.
This was a book.
I did not encourage the reading of this book for prose quality. I encouraged it for how does this impact the zeitgeist and romance in general. So we'll have that conversation in just a moment. But in case anyone has not yet read Morning Glory Milking Farm, here is the blurb. Violet's a typical down-on-her-luck millennial, mid-20s, overeducated, drowning in debt, on the verge of moving into her parents' basement. I think it was actually her attic. But when a lifeline appears in the form of a very unconventional job in neighboring Cambric Creek, she has no choice but to grab it with both hands. Morning Glory Farm offers full-time hours, full benefits, and generous pay with no experience needed. There's only one catch. The clientele is grade A certified prime beef with the manly, meaty endowments to match. Hands-on work with Minotaurs isn't something Violet ever considered as a career option, but she's determined to turn the opportunity into a reversal of fortune. When a stern, deep-voiced client begins to specifically request her for his sessions on the farm, Maintaining her professionalism and keeping him out of her dreams is easier said than done. Violet is resolved to make a dent in her student loans and afford name brand organic juice, and a one-sided crush on an out-of-her-league Minotaur is not in the plan, unless her feelings aren't so one-sided after all. What I think is fascinating about this blurb is that it is all about the job. This very easily could have been shelved in workplace romance. This very easily could have been shelved in small town romance. This very easily could have gone contemporary if it weren't a Minotaur.
For sure. And at some points during reading, I actually forgot he was a Minotaur.
Yeah.
Because I just, you know what, like, you know, the prose being what it was, I was actually kind of entertained by Violet and the situation. I liked how her obsession with being able to buy organic juice and bitter coffee from a better store, I very much identify with as this overworked, tired as fuck millennial in the workplace. Yes. I identify.
And I think the fact that she didn't go into this with like a kink first mindset or a sex first mindset of like, this is a job that will pay my bills. I don't really want to do this. Also endeared her to us as a character because it wasn't, oh my gosh, let me find the most outlandish job to do. She doesn't even want to tell her parents. She says she works for a pharmaceutical company. She doesn't want... She does, right? She's not lying. It's just pharmaceuticals that collect bull semen to put into Viagra because...
Which I loved as a world building thing because as absurd as this premise is... It was, the author very much grounded a lot of this in reality and something that I think a lot of readers could identify with. Struggling, you know, you get out of school, you get a degree, and then now you need a master's degree, and you get that master's degree, and well, now there's no jobs because it's all the other people with master's degrees and other degrees who are like waiting for people to die or retire so that you can get into that workforce, especially because she wants to be in nonprofits, I think, right?
Yeah.
The nonprofit space. So it's like really hard to get into. So she's like, what do I got to do to just pay the bills and have these small joys, and you have really fun co-workers, and you are going shopping, and in the second book they have the farm stand and everybody's going to the farm stand. Like it's just like this CSA. Really nice it's really nice small town. It's really sweet as a setting, which I liked because I think it let the almost absurdity of this enterprise shine through, but it kept being like, no, this is totally normal. And I love that the author brought in this idea that, yes, we're collecting bull semen or Minotaur semen. I guess the males are called bulls. We're collecting this bull semen for use in pharmaceuticals for male Viagra. Yeah. So it helps
human male Viagra.
It helps human males get hard, stay hard, go hard, have fun. And it provides a very nice service to the Minotaurs who otherwise would suffer from an extremely painful case of blue balls, really.
Yeah, or like...
This is service, people. This is what you need to do in business. Find a niche and serve that niche. Marketing and sales 101.
All right, the Minotaurs sometimes felt exploited by this, but also it's an extra income. And, you know, Violet and I think it's Karami, the other person who works there, they talk through, you know, some of these guys are just like, this is how they're paying for their kids to go to college.
Yes. I love that there's like a nomenclature. You had the earners.
The clock watchers.
Clock watchers and the something little cows.
The good little cows.
The good little cows who are very much in it for reasons. But I like
who are enjoying the collection process.
Yeah, but isn't it true though that in every workplace you're gonna have people who are there like, I'm just here to like make the money, pay my bills. I don't really care about the avenue. You've got the people who are like punching that time clock, and then I don't think there is a modern or you know a connection for the little cows, but I'm sure some people get off at their job or because of their job. So guess what? This is for you too.
Well, we all have client avatars.
You know, I recently, I think in our last episode or 2 episodes ago, I was talking about this new like book funnel promo, like download these free books. So I don't know if I talked about it on that episode, but did I talk about Suck by Ian Lindsay and Cora Rose? Okay, so for those of you who didn't hear this, This was a novella that they released as a part of this book funnel promo, and then the full-length novel will be released later this year, but it's called Suck, and it's very similar, only it's aliens. So in that book, aliens come to Earth and they're like, hello, welcome. We will give you resources. We will help you save your planet. We will help you with diseases. All that we ask is that people with penises over the age of whatever, 18 or 21, you get put into service for X number of years to help us out. And you're not told what that help entails until you actually have to like go do your service. It's very like Korean military, go serve 2 years, but it's more than 2 years. And it turns out the aliens need human male semen to like survive. And it's very similar. You go into a collection space. It's a little bit different in terms of how they're doing it. They're not as concerned with speedy collection. But I remember reading Suck and going, okay, this is very much a choice in terms of how this universe is being set up. But I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the full novel to see how the world keeps getting built up and what happens next. So when I went into Morning Glory Milking Farm, I really had to sit with myself and go, okay, why do I like it in Suck and why do I not enjoy it as much here in Morning Glory Milking Farm? Because and as far as settings go, it's very much the same thing.
Interesting. Well, I think there is something about the exploitation of an entire species that is the minority species in order to support the majority species. That it sounds like would not be the case here. And also the payoff is purely monetary in Morning Glory Milking Farm versus in Suck, it sounds like it might be more like societal benefit. Like if we're also going to serve your planet. I don't know.
A little bit of trade.
I've been watching Pluribus on Apple TV. Have you been watching this one?
I don't watch it, but I know what it is, and I've seen like clips on YouTube, like the grocery store scene and the hand grenade scene. I've seen.
Yeah, and sort of that like
Yeah.
That idea of what does it mean if there's another species who comes down and unilaterally decides what's best for us is just fascinating to play with. But anyway, I think there is something there that's icky about the humans being the one doing the exploitation versus the humans being the one who are benefiting from said exploitation. So maybe there's something else that you can unpack in therapy.
Rather, when the full book comes out, I'm sure I'll talk about it when the full novel comes out.
I'm happy to read it with you.
There you
want
go.
to do that for the pod.
We'll compare the straight-ish Minotaur human and the queer human alien.
Right.
And really look at these.
They're both monster romances.
Yeah.
Right? And I want to actually talk about that because let's talk about when this book came out. This book was released in August 2021. It is prime pandemic reading. And I think that's one of the reasons that it exploded in places like Book Talk is not just, oh, this book is weird. She jerks off Minotaurs. Right? Because that's what it is. And that's what the angle would have been on TikTok. It's a cozy monster romance that came out during lockdown. So before this book, there were monster romances. This was absolutely not the first monster romance. But most monster romances prior to this were either fantasy or sci-fi. They were not contemporary like this. Now, this is technically categorized in sci-fi erotica. We can talk about that too, because I have thoughts about that. But this was cozy.
I will give it that. It is very cozy, like normal core romance. Yeah. There just happens to be non-human creatures there.
Right. There's non-humanoids involved, but there's also this small town vibe. There's also this workplace thing happening. This is normalized in what could be a Earth-like planet that just has these other species living there and living in these pockets. And, you know, Violet grew up in a mostly human city and she's thinking about moving back to a mostly human city. And in doing so, like, you're basing it in our reality instead of in an alternative dimension. Now, it is an alternative dimension, but it's could be on Earth. It could be now. And you're taking these pieces that are things that real people, I mean, we're always grappling with capitalism, let's be honest, but this was absolutely something people were struggling with during the pandemic. They were overqualified, underemployed, going into jobs that didn't treat them well. And so part of the fantasy here is, wow, she's being taken care of. And she's advancing her career, and she's paying off her debt, and she is making new friends. She's becoming more independent. And then she meets this guy, and he is not the alpha who swoops in and says, don't worry, baby, I'll take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
He spoils her.
Yes.
But he does not take away her autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't say, come on, move out of the city, you hate it there, just move into my house and I'll take care of all your needs. She chooses to go to his house in Camber Creek, but he also chooses to go on dates near her apartment in Bridgeton. They have even though he is financially significantly more successful than her, he never uses it as a way to control her, which in let's say pre-pandemic, let's say like starting with Edward Cullen-ish,
mm-hmm.
and certainly with Christian Grey coming in, there was a lot of, you don't have to worry about anything. I'll take care of everything. And right around 2019, 2020 is when people started stepping away from that, because I think we had enough rules being imposed on us. Yeah. And so you can't go out of your house. You can't go to the store without wearing a mask. You can't do those things anymore. And suddenly the desire to make our own choices became that much stronger, and it started showing up in romances as a desirable, sexy choice.
Mm-hmm. In many ways, the non-sexy stuff in the book was actually my favorite. Like, what a fun workplace environment. What a fun little small town when she goes into the coffee shops and she's meeting all these other species out and about and having coworkers. Like, how nice is that?
They're doing their yard work and talking to the neighbors and having some drinks.
Do you know how hard it is to make adult friendships as a millennial?
Honestly.
How lovely was this? Like, I obviously did not read this during the pandemic, but I feel like if I had, that would have really come out of it, because it's like, oh, what cute small town. Yeah. You're making friends at coworkers. Your job is providing for you. And then you have a really hot guy who's like treating you really well. Isn't that nice?
That's the fantasy.
Yeah, I'll take that.
That's the fantasy.
I could do without the fluid collection, but like the rest of it, I'm in. I could do it.
But I'll also be honest, when I heard like 24 ounces of semen, I was like, that would be a mess to clean up. But no, they have procedures to make it an enzyme.
I meant to do the math on this. Like, how much is 24 ounces?
Because like, I know 2 liter bottle.
Seriously? It's like 2 liters?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I meant to do this math because like I cannot picture 24 shot glasses. Which is my only frame of reference really for
No, go ahead. Look up the
I
ounces of a 2 liter bottle.
24 ounces to liter. No, 24 ounces is 0.7 of a liter. So it's almost a liter.
Okay, see?
Okay.
So it's a liter bottle.
What is that in milliliters? 709. It's almost a wine bottle, because a wine bottle is like 710 mil. Okay.
Well, now we're speaking your language.
There we go. I need it in references of wine bottles. Okay, so essentially, and they need to do it, what, like every week, every 2 weeks, I think is what
I don't think that there's a minimum requirement. I think it's more discomfort if you go too long.
Yeah, I think he said at some point in the book, like, I think he comes in every Friday. So for him, it's like at least a weekly thing, because he doesn't have like a partner, so he's not expelling it, I guess, elsewhere. Oh, wow. Okay, now I'm starting to gag, because now I can just picture a milk bottle full of this. Also, how cutesy that they use like traditional milk bottles to store these things in. Like, good job, Morning Glory. You got your branding on lock.
So, I don't know if we've ever talked about this. My husband actually works in the fluids division of a biomedical manufacturing facility.
Oh, God.
And he does not collect that. He doesn't do any fluids collection. But the equipment is what he maintains. He makes sure that as things are moving through the factory floor, they continue to move and everything is, you know, in the autoclave and it's well sealed. And like he has to wear clean room gear. He has to wear a mask and, you know, everything, especially depending on the equipment. And like that level of cleanliness is actually required. So I appreciated that about the story, is that the systems were as good or better than what you would need to do this like sanitized collection.
I feel like this company culture would be fabulous. And they actually think of culture as not as a foosball table, but instead of excellent on-the-job training and many, many resources on how they do these things. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Yeah, I couldn't do it because I would gag, literally. It would make me so ill to be in that space, but I could admire the efficiency. I would work the front desk. I could not work in collection. I could work the front desk. I could work reception at Morning Glory.
I wouldn't want to also be on the janitorial team.
No, I could not do that either. No. When on the cases where you have to like hit the button because something went wrong and like janitorial has to come in. No, could not. No, thank you.
No, that is not. I mean,
I don't want on brand orange juice that much.
Well, let's be serious. You and I are also both a little bit spoiled with having work from home jobs where we work remotely nearly all the time. So even just going into a facility, sometimes I'm like, go into an office?
What do you mean I got to put professional pants on? No.
Hard pants? What is this?
Hard pants versus soft pants is a real thing.
It's a real decision, right?
Yeah,
I went for my annual physical last week. And I got my flu shot. And the nurse, after I got the flu shot, was like, so you're going back to work? And I was like, no, I don't have to walk into a work. Like, just walking into the doctor's office for a 10 o'clock appointment. And it's in our YMCA in January. Why do I do this to myself, Nikki? It's in the YMCA. Why would I go to the YMCA at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday? I shouldn't have done it. No. Because the parking lot was a mess.
Bad choice.
Bad choice. bad proactive healthcare. But she was like, you going back to work? And I was like, no. Like, I even looked around at 1 minute and I was like, oh man, it must suck for all these people who work here to have to like find parking every day at this building. And it's a great building and it's a great workplace and they work for like the university and like it's probably a really cushy job. And I'm like, oh, you have to be here at a certain time and like shove needles into people's arms? Ooh.
Okay, I don't like it when you put it that way.
No, it was actually quite lovely. But it is a choice, right? And even the best jobs always have their drawbacks.
There you go.
So what do you think about Rourke as a hero?
I really enjoyed him. My biggest challenge with this book is because I can't picture things in my head, I could only use the cover art as a reference for him. And I'm down with the bull penis. Do what you will, folks. Have fun. Be consensual. But the thing I could not wrap my head around was kissing him. Yeah. Because he has like a snout. He has like a bull snout. The bovine facial structure. I couldn't picture how Violet was dealing with that.
And so she even said a couple times, like, his mouth was so much wider than anyone I'd kissed before.
I'm just really concerned with the logistics of how they are doing physical intimacy in that way. The other way, I totally get it. Below the waist down, I get the logistics. I could probably understand a diagram. But kind of like neck up, I just kept fixating on it. And it definitely came up even more in the Mothman book 2. Oh, yeah. Because he would be standing straight up facing that main character and his tongue would like reach way down. Or there's a sex scene. Yeah, I'm down with the vibration. But like there was also a mention when they were having sex later on in that Mothman book where she hooked her feet around his insect legs that bent the opposite way from a human. And I just had to stop and go, no. So sometimes his work, I would forget that he had this bovine face and I would just remember this gigantic penis. But then when they would talk about, not necessarily them even just having sex, but when she would kind of like look at him, I just couldn't get over the bovine thing. I just kept thinking about the logistics. Cows have flat teeth. They have really thick tongues and his mouth is wider than her head. I don't know what to do with this. But if I forgot that he was bovine in nature, I really enjoyed him. I liked how he slowly made his way into her life in what was a really awkward situation considering where they met. It starts with him like requesting her on a Friday with the little sticker she gets on her folder, and he's very professional.
Well, it starts with him tipping her, which I wasn't super comfortable with.
I don't know, but I think how the service is described in the book, and something that Violet brings up a lot, is that it's really clinical. Like, it's not sexual, except for the little cows, that's going to be everywhere. That's like, that's when you go to like a massage parlor, and some people treat a massage parlor or an RMT as like a sex worker. Yeah. That would be inappropriate, but that's inappropriate everywhere. But if it's just like a service, like I tip my hairstylist. I took a pottery class Monday night. I tipped my pottery instructor because it's that kind of environment. So that didn't bother me as much, but I like how he slowly, and they were just chatting, and I liked them chatting over time, because it really reinforced that this is just so normal. This is not sexual in nature. It's very straight-laced. It's very procedural. Yeah. And then, he doesn't really see her because she's covered and has mask, and she's like below him in the collection facility, which I also want to see the setup. I couldn't quite picture the setup. It sounded very operationally sound and efficient. But then she's at a coffee shop, and he hears her voice and is like, that's her. And she sees him, is like, that's him. And it was just kind of sweet how it progressed from there.
And it was so low angst.
It was very low angst.
Low emotional volatility. Mm-hmm. Like, it was so sweet. Mm-hmm. I keep coming back to cozy. Like, it's such a cozy little sexy romance. And it's hard to thread that needle.
I kept expecting someone from her workplace to like catch them flirting and be like, you're fired, inappropriate client relations, or something like that. Or for him to get jealous that she was continuing to jerk off creatures for work. But again, that's not a world where this happens. It's not even a thing. So in that sense, it was also nice and cozy. There was no stress that she was going to be disciplined for chatting with this Minotaur gentleman.
So here's the thing. If this had been shelved as workplace romance, that's exactly what the reader expectation would have been. It would have been, boss employee or secret relationship, or we're hooking up at work and we shouldn't be, and this is off limits and it's forbidden, and then HR would get involved and they'd have to do all these other things. And like there would be the power dynamics would be much more at play of like client to service provider. And they didn't go there. So even though this technically could be shelved under workplace romance, it wasn't. And I think the same is true for Small Town. If this had been shelved under Small Town, you still would have had that like, the girl moves from the big city to the small town. She finds a new life. She makes friends. She, finds her own apartment. She finds a world that she loves. She gets to enjoy the benefits of it. She works the network. She goes to the galleries. She loves the ice cream parlor. Like it reads Small Town, but it's not shelved Small Town. Because if it was shelved Small Town, then people would expect, like, the gossip and who's who and let's all go to the neighborhood watch and let's have these festivals we're going to and who are we going to bump into there? And, oh, no, we bumped into Violet's boss and now we're going to get in trouble. And, like, it would have raised the angst and the stakes in a way that this book, I think it could have supported that, but that was not the goal of this book. So when I say it could have been shelved workplace romance, it could have been shelved contemporary, it could have been shelved rom-com. Do you know where it's shelved?
No, I'm guessing something sci-fi or fantasy related.
It is number 1 in science fiction erotica.
Oh,
Number 1 in erotic science fiction.
Those are 2 different categories?
Those are 2 different categories. Let me explain the difference, because I said the same thing. I was like, how are these different? Erotic science fiction is speculative otherness. So it's like non-human bodies, non-human systems. Science fiction erotica is explicit sexual content that is central to the plot.
Okay, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Right.
Kind of the same.
I agree. But
also, science fiction, I don't know if that even makes sense to me. I think, like, definitions are definitions, but that's okay. I would have expected like something space, or it made more clear that like this is another planet, because maybe that's wrong of me that I hear science fiction, I automatically think space or other planets or other dimensions, versus this was so Earth related and the humans had Earth human experiences that I'm surprised it wasn't more of like urban fantasy.
Yeah, and so
in terms of its classification.
I sort of was thinking about that too. I did a bit of research, and it's like, I think the paranormals that we're used to come out of the lineage of urban fantasy. And so we're accustomed to this feeling like urban fantasy when we have these non-human creatures, right? When you have a vampire who's living in the world, that feels like urban fantasy. And you have some of these, like, the vampire is immortal, and he's protective, and he is fighting against these external forces, and he's protecting his partner. And same with the werewolves, right? They move in packs, and there's a certain level of, like, me and my partner against the world that often shows up in the paranormal and urban fantasy. But by putting it into science fiction instead of urban fantasy and making it a monster instead of like a sort of like humanoid aristocratic like witch or elf or something that feels more human, by taking that out of it, it becomes more speculative by nature. And so the speculation of science fiction is not just like, is it on a spaceship? Which is how I often think of it too. But it's, what if the workplace systems worked better than reality?
Intriguing.
The speculation is, yes, what if Minotaurs were on our planet? Or what if there was this alternative reality where there's a small town that has all these different species? But the speculation of the science fiction is just as much, what if people were paid a living wage?
I know. That blew my mind. And I was like, oh, this job, other than the fluid, sounds just like nice. Everybody seems really kind. And even like the bitchy orc, who's kind of rude, like Magda
Matilda,
or whatever her name was.
Whatever,
Yeah, there was an M. And I was just like, oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So the third category this was in, just so I can close the loop for people, not that anybody cares about this shit but me. It's erotic science fiction erotica, and the third one is fantasy, which brings in that sort of mythical character arc. That it isn't just, it's not paranormal. It is fantasy. It is monster specifically, not, the coven or the werewolf pack. It isn't the scaffolding of an urban fantasy. It is just more of a high fantasy approach because of the mythical figures.
Oh, okay. I was going back through some of the sections I had highlighted in the book, because some of them just made me laugh, but others I was like, oh, how aspirational is this? And I think it's funny that when I think of this being science fiction, to what you said of what the systems were better, I'm just like, oh, she had a training binder. She had orientation videos. She got to shadow someone for like a week or two to really get good at what she was doing. She got to observe and then practice under observation. And then she was let to, go to do it solo. But I also really enjoy how she was so dedicated to it at getting good. Again, millennial trauma here. We need to be perfectionists at what we're doing. And there's so much pressure to do it right. That I like how she was like practicing in her off hours. Yes. Like I can one-handed affix the label to the collection unit. She practiced setting up the rooms and the autoclave and like all the other accoutrements, even when there was not a client present, so that she could just get really good at it, because becoming competent means she doesn't have to worry about it, which means she's not creating a stressful situation for herself, that she just gets to come in and like, I do my thing. And I go. I do my thing, and I go. And I just appreciated how smoothly that went.
The routine expertise.
Oh, I love that.
Like that
was so satisfying.
Thank you. But I talk about this a lot on my other podcast. It's like, what are the things that make us experts? This is accumulated experience over time to become an authority on the topic. Blah blah blah. This is all AI stuff. But, the way that she follows the system until it feels natural to her. And then she has the checklist, but she doesn't necessarily need the checklist anymore. It can be a touch point versus like something that she needs to check every time. But also, she feels very comfortable doing the work repeatedly. She knows what the expectations are. And everything is just like, she's compensated. She knows her hours. They work around her flexibility. Like, they're flexible for her. When her aunt dies and she has to go home, they're just like, great, take 2 weeks off. We'll cover your shifts. Like, there's never any guilt. Everything is compensated and consensual. Like, Everything is rewarded instead of exploited.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
What's a bigger fantasy than that? Being rewarded
I can't
for
think
competence.
of anything. I can't think of anything right now. So, okay, talking about competency, because we've talked about job competency, and something that comes up in monster romance, we talked about this when we talked about Win, like Lily Mayne and her monster series.
Soul Eater, yeah.
Is how when you are a human who does not have exposure to other non-human creatures, be they from fantasy, science fiction, whatever, how do you approach intimacy? Because you're learning a lot. And I thought it was really funny in this how Violet approached sexual intimacy with Rourke, because obviously she's seen what his appendages look like.
Right.
She's been there she knows what he looks like and sounds like when he's about to burst. But she's not
going into this uneducated. Yeah.
No, she's got some education. But to make that switch into, oh, now I'm the receiving appendage, I had to put the book down at one point.
I'm the receptacle.
When she is the receptacle for these 24 ounces, this wine bottle worth. Like, I'm starting to gag a little bit. But, like, there is a thing where she's like, no, I'm going to gag. When she talks about it going inside of her.
Yeah.
And the noise that makes.
Out.
Oh, God.
Okay.
But I also appreciated that when she is giving Rourke oral sex, when she's giving him a blowjob, his appendage is so large, she gags, but that makes Rourke gag. He goes, no, please don't make yourself gag. Because then he starts gagging. He goes, that noise makes me want to vomit. Like, I can't, don't you gag. Don't ever try to, like, go too far on my dick, because it will make me vomit if you do that.
Oh my God. It's so
okay.
good.
Yeah. I need a drink. I feel like I'm about to get sick.
Okay. I'll take it from here. We can talk about the slow intimacy that they intentionally chose. So I think that this book is obviously filed under erotica because there is so much physical contact, and Violet is in her head fantasizing for most of this. The actual, like, on-page sex doesn't really start until about 65%. She has imagined it. She's dreamed about it. Before she even knows his name, she's already thinking about what it would be like, right? So there is a lot of sexual content in the book. But then when they actually start dating, and he says, I want to take you for coffee. I want to take you out to dinner. And he takes things intentionally slow because he's like, I don't want you to think that just because we met in this environment, that's all that I want from you. And so he says from the beginning, like, you're in charge, you're setting the pace. And then she doesn't get it. So they go on dates for like a month before finally she's like, oh, I have to actually ask for sex. I can't just expect him to read my mind. Oh. And so everything is
Who knew?
I know, right? Everything is so hyper consensual because I think in part because it has started at the space of, like, starting with prolonged sexual contact. And so they have to almost back away from it to move back into it to say, no, I care about you, not just about the physical connection that we have.
And I love how his nose ring came into it as well, because when Violet meets him, he has, you know, what we think of when we think of bulls with nose rings, right? And it turns out that's often used as a signifier that someone is married or is committed, and he still has it. So at first she's like, when she finds out what the ring means, she goes, oh, he has a wife, he has a girlfriend, he has a partner. This is not an option for me. And then I love how subtly he drops, no, I'm divorced. I just haven't done this yet. I'm actually worried it's going to hurt to get removed. And I've just been putting it off because there was no reason to you. But then when he does get it out, they've kind of like been flirting a little bit, and he gets the ring taken out. But then I think it's when they meet in the coffee shop or when they're somewhere talking, and he goes, I don't know if this is inappropriate or not, but I kind of don't care. I got the ring out. This is the whole reason I did it, was to ask you on a date. Oh yeah, it's because when he sees her, I think in the coffee shop when she gets back after having been gone for 2 weeks, he was really worried that she, like, didn't work there anymore and he was never going to see her again. So when he sees her, he's like, oh, do you still work there? By the way, I also got this ring taken out. I missed you, And I would really like to get to know you better. And I don't want to make things awkward. I don't want to like jeopardize your job or anything. So if you don't want me to come in anymore as a client, I totally won't. But like, would you please want to date me, please? I was like,
I know.
Oh, this man bull. This man bull. I love this so much.
It's almost like when Scott Hunter is like, I'm going to come on really strong right now for a minute. You might not like this, but I'm just going to lay all my cards on the table.
Too intense? I need
here.
to be too intense right now. Oh my God, of course
Thank you.
brought up heated rivalry. We can't go to an episode without talking about it.
It's not even possible. It was me this time. It wasn't even you. But I think also like the so often you get into a romance and you're just like, just have a conversation. Just set the expectations. And that's so well done in this book where it's like, if you don't want this, that's fine. If you want to keep our relationship and your job separate, I can see someone else. I can choose not to go to that particular venue. I can stop the collection process for a while. You know, like,
yeah,
he's so open to her boundary setting.
Yeah, because he even says there's other collection facilities. He just likes this one the best. So he's like, because I like how he makes a reference that if there's any people who any Minotaurs that come in and say they've never been to one of these places, that's bullshit. Don't believe them. But I could also just go to one of the other ones that's closer to my workplace or closer to home or whichever one it was. I get, adults having adult conversations is extremely satisfying.
So Nikki, since this was your first and probably last touch point with Morning Glory Milking Farm, what did you ship the most?
I liked how small the world was. I think sometimes when you read monster, you read non-human, it has to be a part of a bigger structure.
Ooh, yeah.
Like the monsters invaded Earth. The aliens invaded Earth. We are fighting a war. And it has much bigness. This didn't have bigness. It had small. And I really liked it because I think it created an easier entry point into the story that felt really accessible. Cozy, you've said a couple times, I think is a great word for it. But it felt like, if not for the fact that there were Minotaurs and vampires and ogres in this world, it could be any small town that was like cute and nice. And wouldn't we all just want to live there? So I really enjoyed that smallness of the world and how normal everything was. It wasn't othered or big. It was, this is small town. Isn't this nice? Isn't this satisfying? You will not get this in the real world. So have fun while you're here in Hammer Creek.
The speculative small town.
There you go. What about you, Meg? What did you ship the most?
I shipped the fact that Violet was never shamed. She was never shamed for making a choice that was clinical, that was pragmatic. And then when she did end up, being in a relationship with Rourke and getting a second job, it was never like, oh, you need to stop working there now because you're with me. She even said, like, do you want me to quit? And he was like, why would I want you to quit? That's your job. Like, it was never, even though it is in a, like, sexually adjacent field, it was never harmful. It was always treated with respect by every character. And so I think that was my favorite part, is that her decisions were all based in logic, based in the reality of being, overqualified and underemployed, and here's what you have to do to survive. But then she ends up having a really positive and joyful life in a field that is unconventional. And I really liked that choice. I don't think the book would have worked if he had said, no, you got to stop working there because I don't want you touching other guys.
No, because I would have said, I'm sorry, do you offer full benefits and gainful employment and nice coworkers?
Yeah.
See yourself out, sir.
Where's my 2 weeks vacation?
I do enjoy that. Have you read any of the other books in the series or anything else by this author?
Yes, I have read Sweet Berries, which you read. I read the breeding clinic one after that. I read a couple of the ones in the were the brothers of the guy from the breeding clinic. So I think it was called Camp Creek After Dark. That was a bit more like traditional werewolves. And those were like workplace romance. Both of them are cutthroat lawyers chasing each other through the woods kind of thing. And then I sort of just let it fade. The author's writing style isn't my preferred form of prose. So I let it go. But, I have read a couple of them. Yeah.
Sweet. I like it. Beautiful. Before we get into the question of what we are shipping this week, it would be really awesome and make us feel like the competent, excellent millennials that we are, is head on over to your podcast provider of choice, rate, review, and subscribe. It's the number one thing you can do to help us out. It only takes a minute of your time. And even if you're listening in a browser or the Substack app, if you want to head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe, rate, review, and then leave it alone. You never have to go back. We would very much appreciate it. Meg, what you be shipping this week?
This week I be shipping. I don't even want to say it. This week I am shipping Mercy by Sarah Kate. I am starting to plot out the next book series that I'm going to write, even though I won't be writing it for another year. I'm just sort of letting it marinate in the background. And I think the second book in that series will have a brat and brat tamer dynamic. And so I decided to go back and read Mercy. It is the story of a couple who, she is a dom and he is a sub, and they are matched up on a dating app. And what they don't realize when they are matched up on the kink specific dating app of the company that she owns is that he is her co-founder's son. And so they have this secret kinky relationship going on, and then eventually have to come out to his family. And she's 34 and he's 22. And but you also get a lot of, this brat behavior that she has to sort of dominate and hold her boundaries really well. And in doing so, she goes from being a bit of a kind of wallflower character of letting people manage her time and take advantage of how organized she is. She's very in control of everything. And in part of this process, she's able to take more of a leadership role within the company that she owns. It's a really interesting premise and very well done. So Mercy by Sarah Kate. Nikki, what are you shipping this week?
I don't know how I got into this series. The author is Cambria Hebert for a book called Wet. So Wet is the first book in the Westbrook Elite series. They're all marketed as a Westbrook Elite standalone, but it is very much like an 8 or 9 book series because they do build on each other. The same characters are always showing up. So Westbrook is this like Ivy League type of university, and the elites are the swim team. So there are these super privileged guys. Some of them are probably going to go swim in the Olympics. A lot of them come from super privileged backgrounds, and it's just the things that happen. So it is like new adult, which in my mind, as I read all of these, I'm like, no, they're 26, 27. Just that's canon in my brain. They're older. It's grad school. They're totally older. Because some of the stuff that happens, I'm like, this is not going to happen to a 21-year-old. Like, it's just not. So the first book, Wet, is involving like kind of like the quote unquote captain of the swim team, even though there's no real captain. And there's this character, Rory, who goes on a date with this guy from the swim team, and he tries to sexually assault her. She escapes, and she goes to the dean, and she goes to the police, and nobody believes her. So she decides to follow him around with her camera, because she takes photos for the school paper, to catch him in the act of doing it to another woman. And she does. She catches him in the act with another woman, but she helps the other woman escape. But then she gets knocked out by this bad dude. This isn't a huge spoiler because it happens in the first chapter. He takes her to the pool and tosses her in, and she can't swim. So she almost drowns, but she's rescued by this captain of the swim team. And it's about how they kind of team up, and he goes, I believe you. Like, let's figure out what we got to do to take this guy down. So what really characterizes this series is it's extremely possessive alpha male in attitude to some points that I'm like, okay, if I imagine they're 26, 27, it's better. They're 21 to 23. And I'm like, no, I don't love this. So the first 2 books in the series are straight, but then she introduces some queer characters. So of the 8 or 9 books, I'd say half of them are straight, half of them are queer.
Oh, cool.
Which is kind of nice. And it goes from guys on the swim team, guys on the swim team's older brother who went on an exchange program to Sweden and had a roommate there. And then that roommate comes to Westbrook to like swim for them. You get the coach has a relationship with one of the team members there. So like it's a really high drama series. There's a lot of like every single book, one of these characters is in danger of being killed. Like to the point where it's almost absurd, But if you take it as what it is, which is kind of like a pulpy, campy, possessive new adult sexual romance, I was really entertained. Are these, like, they're well written? Are these like masterpieces of prose? No, but they are entertaining as fuck. So if you want entertaining kind of pulpy fiction, check out the Westbrook Elite standalone series by Cambria Hibbert. So much drama.
I don't know if I can handle like swim team dynamics. I think I'm too deep in that in my personal life, but I appreciate that. We've got districts this weekend. It's kind of a big deal around here.
Yeah, no.
We already qualified for states, but we're not going because it's all the way in Long Island. And I'm like, I will not drive for 8 hours through New York City so you can swim for literally 3 minutes. I think we'll just wait till next year when it comes back upstate. Keep going on that 200 free, okay?
I love that for you. That is all for us this week. If you want to support the show for free, as I said, the best thing you can do is head on over to your podcast provider of choice, leave us a rating, review it, subscribe it, or tell a friend. Word of mouth is a fabulous way to bring in new folks into our soulmate universe. Make sure you give us a follow on social media. We are at First Dates and Soulmates on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you do have a little bit of money to send our way, you can check out our merch store. It's on TeePublic and linked in the show notes. Or you can subscribe to the show on Substack. Do it for 1 month. Do it for many months. We are just so happy that you are here and talking about bull semen with us. Coming up next week, it's my birthday pick, and we're talking reality TV in romance. We'll see you then.
Bye.